I think they can. I think they can slow down Philadelphia. Philadelphia's got some issues, even though they're 4-0 and they're feeling good, and they should feel good. If you're an Eagles fan right now, I'm not complaining about anything. You're 4-0. You're not playing the best football right now. But the difference with this 49ers team is this offense can pick up the slack for the defense if they do slip at times. They can pick up the slack. We've seen that in the New York Giants game. We saw that in the Rams game where the defense failed to get a stop in the first half, and the Rams put up 17. Well, guess what? The offense was able to match the Rams' point total, and then go into the second half where the defense was able to clean some things up and get more aggressive with the blitz or whatnot. I think it's too early to tell whether or not this defensive line is taking a step back. They've been fine, especially against the run game. You have to give Arizona credit. These teams get paid, too. Mm-hmm. The play-action pass was working. They kept the Niners off balance a couple times there. There are some adjustments, and then you look up at the scoreboard, they score 16 points. All right? So, yes, there's some things to clean up. Trust me, the cornerback spot is worrisome. You know, opposite edge rusher of Nick Bosa, to me, is a concern. Who's going to step up on that side of the ball? But overall, when you're scoring 30, 35, 30, you're putting so much pressure on that opposing offense to be nearly perfect. That's where the turnovers happen.
I get where Robin's coming from. Don't overthink it. They're a powerhouse. Offensively, they just do everything well. You want to throw the ball down the field? They can do that. You want to keep it intermediate? They can do that. All the short stuff around the line of scrimmage? They can do all of that. You want to use Christian McCaffrey exclusively out of the I formation or a single back formation? He can run it right down your throat. Pick the area where they're struggling right now offensively.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, they punted one time yesterday.
They're not.
All right,
they're
and then
carving people
defensively, they are suffocating teams. Look at the third down conversion rates on every single game that they play. Now, you go, Joe, well, they're played nobody. They haven't played a formidable opponent. That's not how the NFL works. You don't run a gauntlet in the playoffs of you got to face Kansas City and then Buffalo and then Dallas and then Philly. You only got to play one of those guys at a time.
No doubt.
So we're not going to get this true indication on can they beat Philly. Heck, we don't even know if these two teams are going to match up against each other in the playoffs. Now, I'm looking at them and I'm looking at Philly and I'm projecting what it's going to look like. And yes, they look like a stiff task. Their offensive line is dynamic. Their defensive line has elite pass rushers. So do the Niners. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. The only matchup I can look at over the last 10 games or so where I could say it felt very equal, Cowboys-Niners in the playoffs. Yeah. Felt like an equal matchup. And what did it come down to? Dak turned the ball over. Brock Purdy did not.
Yep.
And that's why they won that game.
You talked about the schedule and who you play. And I remember all the hype the Steelers got. We all thought that would be a close game. But, okay, say if you do play mediocre teams, and say Pittsburgh goes on to be 9-8 or 8-9, whatever, they have quarterback issues. They're not buttoned up offensively. They missed Deontay Johnson yesterday. The Rams, they're 2-2. We don't think they'll be a playoff team, but McVay's a good coach. They have some solid players there. You got a quarterback in Stafford.
They're not dead yet.
Get it done. They're not dead quite yet. And who they play? The New York Giants, who are not good, but they were a playoff team last year. Okay, so you beat those teams. But it's how you beat those teams.
Exactly.
Are you eking by?
Exactly.
Are you winning by a late field goal by Jake Moody? Are you know what I'm saying?
Look
it's
at
how
the offensive yardage versus the defensive yardage.
The way they've
been dominant.
The way they dominated Pittsburgh, that game was over 2 plays into the third quarter. It was done. The Niners could have dropped 40 on them. The New York Giants had a short week. You play without Brandon Ayuk. Okay, sure. The Cowboys dominate them 40-0. You beat them 30-12 going away. All right. It's how you beat these teams. They're dominating these football teams. They were dominant yesterday. Now when they play the big boys and the Eagles and the Cowboys next week, it's not going to look that pretty. But do you get the win and do you have control of the football game? They have control basically every game with the exception of the first half against the LA Rams. And they took control right before halftime, controlled the third quarter, and won that game going away. The Rams kick a late field goal to push the spread or whatnot. But they won that game going away. So it's how you beat these teams. They're dominating these teams. You don't make the schedule. The NFL schedule makers do.
And they look buttoned up. Like, that's the other thing. You're not seeing a lot of pre-snap penalties. You're seeing a team on the first drive of every game march right down the field. Like, there's all these hallmarks of what a good buttoned-up team looks like.
Do you come out and shut down the opposing offense?
Exactly.
opening game. They've done that. Not one offense, whether it's Pittsburgh, the Rams, the Giants, or the Cardinals, has scored on their opening drive. What do you do offensively with the football when you get it?
Yes.
Well, you go down and score. You scored 7 against Pittsburgh. You scored 7 against the Rams. You kick a field goal against the Giants, and you score 7 yesterday. So you scored on every single drive to start the game, and you haven't given up anything. It's the only team to do that in the NFL this season.
Well, and you're spreading the ball around to playmakers. It's not just Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's carrying us, and that's it. Yes, CMC has been spectacular. I believe him to be an MVP candidate. Brandon Ayuk's also having a monster start to the season. And yeah, Debo looks a little tentative yesterday. Socks down. Don't know what that was in the first half. And George Kittle, they've only really had to, break glass in case of emergency when Brandon Ayuk was out against the New York Giants. So
what team doesn't have flaws right now? What team doesn't? Detroit has a loss because of secondary play and defense. I think is a bit leaky, but they have a great offense.
Yes.
I'll give them that. I don't want to say great, a very good offense that has the potential to be great. I still have reservations about Jared Goff in the big game.
Okay.
We'll get there. But Philadelphia, they could complain all they want to about being in these tight games and not being buttoned up. Well, I look up, they're 4-0. And the Commanders gave them issues last year. They were able to come back and win that game in overtime. And division games are different. You know my theory on that
Sam
one.
Howell played up and down.
And B&B's got that offense rolling. They're starting to figure some things out with their running backs and their wide receivers. But they're 4-0. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're undefeated. The one loss against Detroit without Kelsey and Chris Jones. They're 3-1. They know they have things to work on. But you're 3-1, and they're proven.
Yes.
Buffalo, one loss. They've got some problems in the secondary now with the Achilles Tre'Davious White there at the cornerback spot. But you know what? They have a great offense, and they're rolling. So you got the top teams that all have little flaws here. So we could nitpick all day long if we want to. The fact is you score 30, 30, 30, and 35. You're shutting down teams. You're playing good situational football.
Two moments in a month of football. Two moments where you're like, maybe they give the lead up here.
No.
Like, think about what we're talking about.
Yeah. There was I didn't stress one bit because you know what great teams do?
They bounce back.
21-16, there's a little adversity.
Yeah.
And good teams like adversity.
Yes.
I'm thinking about Mike Norvell in Florida State when he's telling them after the Clemson game, hey, we bring on adversity. Well, that was an adverse situation there, up 21-16. First play action pass, Brandon Ayuk, you're already at midfield cooking. You restore momentum, you stabilize the football game, and you put up a touchdown when you needed it.
Well, and I was worried about this special teams unit because we talk offense. He was, maybe the field goal kicker's not that great. Maybe the return game won't be great.
Right.
I feel like Ray's going to bust one soon.
Right.
Ray has had some really nice returns.
And you got
I feel very confident with him back there.
Let's go to the lines. Let's get to Chambry in Arizona, then we get to Nick in Berkeley here on the Roast. What's up, Chambry?
Hey, fellas, appreciate you taking the call. I just woke up not that long ago, so sorry if I'm repeating something that's already been said.
You're all good.
But, man, I can't even put into words how great this team is. I mean, CMC dominated yesterday, and what gets brushed under the rug in the national media is Brandon 7-11 Ayuk's 6 receptions for 148. I mean, how insane is that? And to anyone that, keeps doubting Brock Purdy's noodle arm and not being able to throw outside the hash marks, Mr. Nick Wright, oh, look, I counted how many throws it took. It doesn't matter what you say, you jabroni. Shut your mouth, you candy ass. He just proved everything. I'm out.
All right. Look, there's zip on the football. There's ball placement. There's quarterback in the offense. There's getting the ball to your playmakers with a chance to run. The playmakers have a chance to run. It's Mike Tomlin. I love this term, space eaters. You got a bunch of space eaters out here. Christian McCaffrey eating up space. Brandon Ayuk, 6 targets, 6 catches. Hey, he was perfect at Pittsburgh. He had 8 catches on 8 targets.
It's not just the tiny little paper cuts.
No.
In the words of Mike Tomlin, splash plays. They do splash plays as well. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, who he called 7-11, meaning he's always open.
Yeah.
20, 34, 25, 42, 11, and 16. Those were what his yardages were on each of those catches. Those are splash plays. He had 2 bombs. Not 1, 2.
We're going to get into CeeDee Lamb a little bit later in the week and the star receiver for the Dallas Cowboys who was taken in that high-profile draft with Justin Jefferson and Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and Chase Claypool, who's not even going to be with the Bears this week. He's got his own issues. Michael Pittman Jr., who's trying to work it out with his quarterback, Anthony Richardson. Last 31 games for each of those players. CeeDee Lamb has had 257 targets compared to 202 targets for Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
And this is something I started tracking. 50 less, basically. 55 less, I should say, when you do the math. 55 less targets. Now, Ayuk has 142 catches. CeeDee Lamb has 176. CeeDee Lamb has 2,273 yards and 12 touchdowns. When you look at the less opportunities for Brandon Ayuk, he's making the most of it. 2,065 yards, 14 touchdowns. And the catch radius is a lot better for, catch percentage is a lot better for Brandon Ayuk.
Interesting.
He's catching about over a 70% clip. CeeDee Lamb's at 68.5%. So CeeDee Lamb gets a lot more opportunities to thrive, but you look at the production, and Ayuk is right there in the last 31 games. And you can look at the Niners and all these weapons. For the most part, Ayuk's been the fourth option.
Well, and Purdy clearly trusts him and is maximizing him, and he's been awesome with that. The only question on this team, can the quarterback stay healthy and win the big one? That's it. That's to me, because everything that I've seen thus far,
he hasn't lost a game that he's finished.
That's what I'm saying. Even if he has a stretch of 3 bad games, I think he'll bounce back. Hypothetically, he'll bounce back. He'll figure it out. He's maximized CMC. He's maximized Debo when he needs to. Kittle when he needs to. Ayuk when he needs to. He plays complementary football, given where he gets the ball on the field because of the defense. I feel like the defense plays complementary football with him. They can pin their ears back once they get a lead.
You have an offense that can carry the defense when they slip. And that's the first time you've had under Shanahan. Think about that. The old school Niner teams, they'll come out so fast where the defense is like, oh, we got a 21-0 lead. Let's go hunt, boys. Fred Water Company's starting to sniff that. They're starting to say, we just got to do our jobs because we got an offense that can complement us and score. And they're going to put pressure on so many offenses because their ability to score 30-plus a game.
What does Draymond Green call it? 16-game players versus 82-game players? Brock Purdy's clearly proven he's a 16, 17-week player, meaning he could play in the regular season. We all can see it. If you can't see it, you must be blind. Stevie Wonder can see it, in the words of Guru, right? So, can he do what he needs to do in the 4 or 5 games that it takes in the playoffs? That's really or 3 or 4 games, excuse me. That's the question. That's it. And he's done it. He's won a couple of games in the playoffs. Can he do it at the highest level? We know Burrow can be one of those kind of guys. We know Allen can win a game in the playoffs. Mahomes clearly can win all the games in the playoffs. Can Purdy? That's the remaining question. And I think he can do it.